All right, and gotta get this. There we go. All right, that was simple that time. Thank you, Riverside, for once. Hello, and thank you for listening to Guidance in Recovery. I'm Keegan, and every week I speak with guests to honestly explore recovery, sobriety, the struggles that come with it, and find things that help us in our recovery journeys. Today, we are bringing back two incredible souls, Alicia and Damian Bloss. Damian is a fierce recovery advocate, a mentor at his local detention center, and the author of the acclaimed autobiography, Breaking the Silence, as well as his newest book, Recovering Out Loud. Beside him is his rock and wife of 15 years, Alicia Bloss, who has navigated the brutal front lines of loving someone through a 20-year battle with alcohol addiction while doing the deep, independent work required for her own healing. Together, they are the living blueprint of what it means to survive, hitting rock bottom together, dismantle enabling behaviors, and completely rebuild a marriage on a foundation of raw, unwavering honesty. So, I just got to say real quick, thank y'all for being back on the show. And I've got to ask, what hill are y'all willing to die on now that y'all are on this recovery journey together?
Okay.
The support, absolutely, 100% support between support of family, friends, you as the addict, the support that you can give yourself, first of all, and the support that you can get from the outside, and then the support that I get from him and from my friends and my family as well. Just all of the above. Everyone.
I like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
And
Oh, go ahead.
nope, yep.
I was going to say, I totally agree with that because without that support, I wouldn't be where I'm at. Um, you know, she had to completely uproot basically her life to, help me, support me, give me where I need to be, love me, and she didn't have to, and she did that, grateful is not a strong enough word to be able to describe that feeling. Um, I wasn't supposed to be here, and I am, and it's awesome with the support that I have from everybody that I come in contact with. But the most important is right here in my home. So being able to live with that, I completely and wholeheartedly am grateful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And thank
Yeah.
y'all both for answering that. And I think that support is definitely something that everyone kind of needs. And I mean, recovery is not an easy thing.
Mm-mm.
And I mean, especially early recovery. Early recovery is scary, it's super duper hard. And I think that's whenever support is most important.
Mm.
So, I mean, let me ask y'all both, did y'all have any like internal demons come up that were really hard to like grapple with individually, and you found that the support from each other or those around you really helped you kind of tackle them and get them under control per se?
Yeah, I would definitely say, you know, going through this recovery journey, sometimes we have to make sure that we take time for ourselves, and having someone who actually um, understands that we need to take time for ourselves, and I had to do that with myself. I wasn't on the verge of relapsing or anything like that, but I knew something was off. Um, and I needed to step away from certain things. I know my work was getting, crazy busy. My life in general was getting very busy, and external factors happened, and it felt like the whole world was on my shoulders.
Mm,
And that could be that it really was, or it could be that I was taking on too much and I didn't realize it. And so I had to kind of take a step back and refocus and get my mind right and figure out what I need to do to continue. What is it that's going on that I need to correct, and get my mind right. And so that led me to focusing more on myself and her and our family and my job. So I had to take a step back, but I was still doing recovery things. I just wasn't
Mm-hmm.
doing them the way I was doing them before. And I think that's very important too, especially in recovery. Um, you you have to take that time for yourself. Um, we should always be in recovery mode 100%, or else we're going to fall back. However, there is a point in time where you gotta take time for yourself and work on yourself and make sure your mind is where it's supposed to be in order for you to be able to commit, and get back on that same road. And I had to do that.
You got to see the signs in yourself
Yeah.
too. Not just, you can't expect, like I know certain things to look out for with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like with my career, we do a lot of events and stuff. So I'm surrounded by drinking all the time.
Mm.
But he goes with me to a lot of these things because it makes me feel better to have him there. And plus, he
Uh-huh.
gets to dress up and gets free food. So he loves going out to them. But knowing, like, just went to one last week and we were there for what, like an hour. And both of us looked at each other and we were like, we're uncomfortable.
Mm.
And it's very unusual for him to say that he's uncomfortable. So, like, I can see those signs. I can see that in his face when he is uncomfortable. But it's good to know those signs in yourself
Mm.
too, and not rely on other people to point it out for you. Because no matter what, if I were to point it out, he would get very defensive over it. That's a natural human reaction, in the same as I would. So you have
Mm-hmm.
to also notice those signs within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Oof. That's a big one. So what would you say was something that came up for you in your early adventures with this whole recovery aspect of things? Because you're dealing with more of the codependency aspect while Damien's more of the alcohol
Mm.
addiction, right? So
Mm-hmm.
uh, what demons were or what struggles really showed up early on? Because with that codependency factor, it's like you want to help him throughout everything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
was it like having to learn to let loose of the reins or something?
Yes. So the day I dropped him off at rehab, I have not been the same since, to be honest with you. It was the hardest I cried in years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big crier anymore. I've basically like shut a lot of that off. But I dropped him off. I got home and I just let it all out because it was 10 years of me having to watch over him and try to protect him and protect the kids and protect our family and make sure we had a roof over our head. So I couldn't let anything in. But the minute I dropped him off and I got home, I literally have not been the same since.
Huh.
So I have learned a lot more about myself over the last couple of years. I've learned a lot more of how I need to approach certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mean, I don't, I'm just like him. Like, I'm never going to be 100% cured or whatever. But,
Mm-hmm.
I've literally, I've had to let a lot of things in. Letting the light in. I had to let a lot of things in in order to be able to heal with the things that he did those first 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
because that was the only way. I think if I hadn't done it that way, then I honestly don't think we would, if I didn't fix myself, we would not be here either together.
Oof. That's pretty rough. And I mean, that's one of those things where it's that real hard look in the mirror and being able to accept whatever kind of reflection
Hmm.
shows up. And I mean, also congratulations on letting the floodgates open because that's a hard thing to do too. Um,
Yeah. 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 It was, I will never forget it. Like, I literally, it's like in the movies where you get home, the teenage girl gets home after the boy breaks her heart and she falls on the bed and cries. That was literally me for about a good 2 hours that day.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Um, so Damien, let me ask you, have you had a moment like that that was also like you had to let the floodgates open? Because I know for myself, I've had a few where it's like I can feel a big ugly cry coming on and I didn't really know why. And it was like, all right, we're just going to get it out. And oh man, it feels so much better afterwards. But have you had that same kind of experience in your recovery journey?
Yeah, I actually have. You know, and it was early on in my recovery. I don't know exactly when, but it was very early on, and I remember I was actually just driving down the road, and there was a specific a certain song that came on the radio, and it reminded me of that day that I was being driven to rehab, and it was the same song that was playing on the radio at that time, um, and it just was like, wow, like it literally took me back to that time in the car driving to rehab, um, and it was an overwhelming feeling of joy, and it wasn't that I was sad. It was like, wow, how did I make it? And it took me back to, it brought up all kinds of memories that I thought that I had forgotten, and I was just like, what is going on? So I had to pull over, and do it in a parking lot. I think it was at a Wawa, um, and I was just like in the back of the parking lot, and I just sat there, finished listening to the song, and it also reminded me that I used to listen to certain music when I was drinking, and I would get into my feels, and I just needed to cry when I was drinking. I needed to feel. So like I would listen to the worst, the slowest and the
Slowest,
emotional
sappiest
songs.
country music.
Yeah,
It
sappy
was country music.
sappy songs just so I could
Uh,
feel, just so I could feel. So
mm-hmm.
when I was listening to that, I was like, it wasn't that I was trying to get myself to feel as much as it was, wow, how did I even make it?
Mm-hmm.
Started running through my mind like every step that I took in my past started coming up just from that song, and it was so weird, but it was such a great feeling, and you know, I don't look for something to make me feel like that anymore. Um,
Mm.
I find joy in so much more things now, just like everyday little things. So yeah, I mean that was a weird moment, and I didn't know why it was happening, but it felt really good, and I love that. I did.
That's awesome. I think music has one of those really magical properties that can elicit just these strange emotions and memories that we don't really understand why or how. And I think it's just one of those things where, like, maybe your higher power was sending you like that message to be like, hey, you're kind of free now. Like, it's okay. Um,
Yeah.
so, one of the things that I don't think I really asked y'all before was like, how did y'all explain to the kids, like, hey, this is what Damien's going through, this is what Daddy's going through, or anything like that? What? Because I've heard different things from different people, but I've never actually been able to ask like a couple because I've heard some people are like, oh, we just said that he was sick and he was going somewhere. Some people were straight up in like saying like bad problem with alcohol, yada yada. But what was y'all's approach to that, and how did they react?
The youngest, how old was she? What was this, 20?
She was
It's
about 6 or 7.
6 or 7. So she didn't really understand. So the day that he decided that he was, or it was actually the day before he left to go to rehab, we had the middle one and the youngest with us,
Mm-hmm.
and we sat him down and explained it. Now the middle one, she was probably about 12-ish, maybe 10 to 12. The younger one was about 6 or 7, and so the little one all she kept thinking is that daddy's going to a nice hotel for a couple of weeks. She
Uh,
still brings it up to this day. Like now she knows. Now she's
uh,
14 now, so
uh,
now she knows and now she understands it. But she'll still say, "Remember that time you went to the hotel for a couple
mm,
weeks?" The middle one understood a lot more than I think she ever really let on. She's the one, she's got, even as a young kid, she had a better head on her shoulders than a lot of other adults that I've ever met.
mm-hmm.
So she understood exactly what was going on. And, we were very honest with her. The oldest, it wasn't until he came home from rehab did we actually have that conversation, or he had that conversation with her.
Mm,
And she was, what, 16, 17 at the
Mhm.
time. And it was it was the conversation. Like, it was the one that got us back to the family that we were supposed to be.
huh.
So I think, and she, all three of them now are very understanding about, the situation, and, that neither one of us drink and why we don't drink. And they're very cognizant about all of it.
Mm. Yeah,
Huh.
especially with our oldest. I had more of that conversation with her because in the midst of me drinking, we had lost our relationship. Um,
Mm,
and she decided that, she wasn't going to come around anymore because of the things that I was going through. Um, so I thought she came back into our lives once I went to rehab. I got back and, I started on this journey. I wanted to sit her down more and explain because I needed her to understand where I was coming from. Like, I wasn't making excuses or anything like that, but I had to explain to her where I was and the reason why our relationship was diminished by then.
mm,
Because she was like 13 years old
Hmm.
when our relationship just went kaput. I
mm,
didn't see her again until she was 18. So I thought it was much more important that I sat her down and explained to her, like, look, this is what happened. This is what I'm doing.
mm-hmm.
And I really, really want to have a relationship with you, and on your terms now,
Mm,
and our relationship is stronger than it ever was now. It was hard at first, and I'm glad you brought that up because I haven't really been able to talk about that part because it's just never come up. But yeah, I loved that conversation with her, and it made us stronger. And she supports 100%. She'll go to these events that we go to for recovery events and things. All the kids will, but it's very important that I know that she comes there to them,
mm,
so she can see what's going on and what I'm doing to help others, as well as stay on the right path for myself. So it's so awesome to be able to share that journey with all the kids.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man,
because
that's really
especially with
cool.
her,
Yeah.
especially with her, like, her and I have a lot more in common when it comes to that side of him
Mm,
than the other two do. The other two, they knew, like, the middle one knew, like, she saw the different sides of him. But they always got the fun Damien,
mm-hmm.
and the oldest and I always got the fun one plus the alcoholic plus the cranky one. And so, like, we have that, we also have, her and I have that bond, with that.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and that's really rough. But I'm just really glad that everything's been mended the way that it has. And so, I guess my question on that note of things is, Alicia, you had said that y'all are the family that y'all were kind of used to or supposed to be now after this whole recovery journey has kind of happened. So, and you kind of just described like the younger ones got the fun, Damien, and you and the
Mm.
oldest had to get the rough ago, essentially.
Yeah.
So, what do y'all feel like is some of the key differences between the family back then in the middle of it all versus the family in the recovery journey now?
I can say on my end, I don't hide anything from the kids anymore.
Mm,
I
okay.
can, I 100% hid everything as best as I could from them,
Mm-hmm.
even from the oldest, because I didn't want them to see him any differently. I didn't want anyone to see him any differently. So I hid everything from everyone as
Mm,
best as I could. So I think now for me, I don't hide it. I don't sugarcoat it anymore. I realize
mm-hmm.
that did more damage, I think, to them than
Hmm.
anything.
Ouch. Okay.
Yeah.
And what about you, Damien?
Um, I mean, yeah, it's it's so freeing because I felt like I had to be somebody else too because I wanted to shelter them as much as I could from who I really was because I always wanted them to see someone they could look up to and someone who always had their back and you know I would play that part but you could tell that it was just a play. You could tell it was just an act. Like where now they know that I
Mm,
have their back. They know that I'm going to do whatever I can for them in reason, within reason, you know. Um, and like not just go out and buy them everything that they want and stuff like that, but you know, just within reason. And I
uh-huh.
think we have such a much better relationship all around. Um, I don't feel as stressed because I was super stressed before because I
Mm,
was I was hiding everything. So I'd have to I was two totally different people. One when I'm by myself and one when I'm at home.
mm,
And that was very stressful. That is hard to do on a consistent basis day after day for years.
mm-hmm.
Um, and trying not to let that other person show that other person that I was trying not to let that show and it was just so hard but now we can go on vacations together and my oldest now she has uh, three kids and so now I'm a grandfather and that's still tough for me to say because I don't feel like a grandfather but like that kind of stuff she trusts me with these kids she'll let us have the kids overnight and things like that and like there's no way that the Damien before would be able to handle all that and nor would anybody trust me to be around them because he's always drunk is he gonna keep them safe if something happens he's not going to be able to drive them somewhere if something happens and blah blah blah
That's why for years I didn't do anything. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't hang out with my friends by leaving
Mm,
him home. I didn't go out for, girls' weekends or anything like that. I was just always home with him because my fear was that something would happen and
mm,
the house would blow up and he'd be too drunk to deal with it. Or, a kid would fall and break something and he'd be too drunk to deal with it. And so for almost the full 10 years, I didn't do anything. And people kept
oof.
saying, I'm too codependent on him. And I couldn't tell anybody the reason why I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
do anything. So I'd just make up excuses and let them believe that, yeah, it was my codependency on him. But in reality, it was my fear that something would happen.
Yeah. Oof. So, I mean, now that y'all are both in your recovery journeys, I guess letting go of that fear has made it easier to progress and either let people know what's really going on or be able to just have that trust. And trust is what? Time and consistency
Hmm.
with those actions. So it's like he was able to build up that trust. Did it happen right away, do you think? Or was there like a pivotal moment that you can recall where you were like, "Oh, wait a minute, I trust him again"? Because Damien, I do remember you talking about how you, Alicia said that the sound of a Coke can would bother her, and you started
Hmm.
walking into the living room to
Yeah.
open it in front of her.
Yeah. He still does that. Yeah. I don't know. It took a while, I think. I don't honestly, I because when we first started this journey, it was the beginning of COVID.
Mm,
So we got honestly, we got luckier than a lot of other people did, that I think we were able to go through this at the same time, the same way, really, because we literally had no other choice. Like, we were home. So we were just stuck with each other anyway.
yeah.
But I mean, that was like a year at least before I actually went back to work.
Mm,
I'd say probably it took me probably about a year or two to really start fully trusting.
mm, okay. And Damien, when did you start trusting yourself again? Because I know as for a former alcoholic, it's one of those things where it's like, do I really trust myself with this? And it's like, I know I could get away with this, but nah, I'm not going to do that now.
Yeah, so I can't pinpoint like an exact time frame, but I do know that it took a while because I was always on edge. You know, when when I got back from rehab, COVID had just hit. Excuse me, and my job had sent us home, and right then and there, any trust I would have had, even just coming right out of rehab, which would have been none anyway. But the thing is that if I did have any, I had none at that point because they sent me home, and literally right up the street, 5 minutes, is a liquor store. That was the
Mm.
only thing open during COVID, and
Oh,
so I had an hour lunch break. I could go at any time, if I wanted to, and could have gotten it. And I think it made me proud to know that I didn't couldn't do it, and that was the reason why I I had her download the Life 360 app,
mm,
and I did it as well because I didn't trust myself, but I knew that if she could track where I was, that I wouldn't be tempted to do it. Um, and that got the ball rolling on me starting to be able to trust myself. And then when I started speaking out about it, I got more I felt more trustworthy in myself, because now I'm holding myself accountable, and not just to me, but I'm holding myself accountable to everybody that I come in contact with.
mm-hmm.
So I think that that may be the starting point of when I started to let a little bit of my trust happen, I guess you could
Mm-hmm.
say. um, and then I don't know when I started fully trusting myself, to be honest, because I do this. I've been doing this for a little while now, and like it's become second nature, to be able to speak about what I'm going through and not hide and shy away from it. If anybody wants to talk recovery with me, I'm on it. So I think COVID did help me a little bit out with trusting myself, because I said, look, I need you to, and her too, because I was like, I need you to also hold me accountable. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
not your job, and she didn't have to, but she did because I asked for that help, and it was so cool to be able to do that and have her right there with me, and I could be like, and the thing is too, with that app, I could have deleted it off my
Mm-hmm.
phone. She would have never known. Maybe, I don't know
Now
if
the
she would have.
kids stalk us more.
But
Yeah.
and I never did that. And I think that was like pure accountability on my
Mm-hmm.
part, and just trying to prove to myself, look, I need to do this. And if I got to do that, if I have to have people stalking me and whatever, I'm going to do it.
Fair enough. That's pretty brave, I mean, you said the big A word, accountability.
Mm.
And that's one of the things I know that a lot of us in any sort of recovery really have to kind of take hold of. And so, Alicia, what things did you find yourself having to be accountable for since you were trying to distance the whole like codependency aspect of things?
Hmm. I had to hold myself more accountable to not be so controlling.
Mm.
Like I didn't even realize that I was truly as controlling, like not controlling to the, the point where no, you can't do this or you can't like not like that, but like
Mm-hmm.
to I am definitely one of those people. If I can control a situation, then I'm all in.
Yeah.
If I know that I can't control it, then I'm just like,
Uh-huh.
meh, whatever. It is what it is. I learned that more. It was when my mom passed away, actually. My best friend came over. Well, she was with me almost the whole week. And she stopped me, whatever it was that I was doing. She looked at me. She goes, "You can't control everything."
Mm.
Because we've been best friends literally since we were in diapers. So she knows me almost better than anybody else does. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, wow, you're not wrong. Like I try to control my surroundings, and so I think I've had to learn how to hold myself accountable and not try to control the things around me and just
Mm.
let things happen.
Yeah. Oof. And that's really hard too,
Yeah,
because
I'm not
I
doing a very good job, but that's one thing I have to. I'm trying. So
yeah.
I'm holding myself accountable and trying.
Yeah, I mean, in the pre-call, it sounded like you were going through a lot, and
Mm,
we'll just say that you have a lot of traveling to do, a lot of family obligations of sorts,
mm-hmm,
and that is one of those things where, like, if we feel like we're in control of situations, we feel safe,
mm-hmm,
we feel like things will turn out for the better, and
mm-hmm,
so I think one of the bigger things, though, is to like you dropped him off at rehab in the hopes that everything would work out well. And so that's a huge step in like letting go of the reins.
mm,
So,
yeah, and that's probably why, like I said, when I got home, I just let it all out because it was the first time I wasn't in control of a certain situation,
hmm
and I had to trust that the facility had was able to take care of him, and I had to trust that he was able to take care of himself, and
yeah.
that was very very difficult for me.
Mm. Was there something that you did while he was in there that helped you like either soothe yourself or alleviate the anxiety, anything like that?
I went to bed at 9:30 every single night. But actually, by 9 o'clock, the kids were in bed. I would have a cup of tea, and I would be in bed by 9:30, and I would play my game until 10, and I would go to bed. And let me tell you, it was the best 28 days sleep of my entire life because I would wake up the next day, and I didn't have to make the other side of the bed. I only had to make my side of the bed. I didn't have somebody snoring in my ear. But that's literally all I did was just work, pick the kids up, and go home. And
hmm
it was that time, that night time, when usually things were like crazier for us because he was either passed out or he was three sheets to the wind. And so I had to learn to sit there for that month and just listen to the quiet.
hmm
And I got really into watching. I was watching reruns of Three's Company.
Mm.
What, remember that channel? What was that? It was all Three's Company and all this other stuff. But I was really into watching all that and was able to like calm me down.
hmm
And it was just taking time for myself in the quiet.
Mm. That's awesome. I'm glad you were able to do that though.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the nighttime is usually whenever everyone's inner demons or inner problems start coming up, and then I mean, if you're having to sit there and deal with his problems all the time, then that would definitely be one of those where like now that you don't have to deal with this, let's just go crazy up here and like think of all the things that could be going wrong elsewhere.
Yeah. No,
So,
I did. I didn't. Yeah. That was later. That was a couple months
uh,
later.
oof. So let's see. Whenever we started this episode, y'all were talking about support. So, how do y'all support each other while also not becoming that codependent aspect again, to where it's like y'all can lean on each other, but y'all don't necessarily have to have the other person around all the time? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So I'm trying to think. Um, I think where we we are able to now have two separate lives,
Mm-hmm.
um, and basically, like, you know, I have my job, she has her job, but and we do we do separate things, but we do things together. If that makes sense, I'm trying to say it in a different way where we
We don't do everything together
right, but you know,
anymore.
well, yeah, but I mean, like, trying to bounce things off of each other, and you know, the triggers are starting to lessen, and you know, things like that where we can just be a married couple and not
Mm-hmm.
have to find a problem that we need to fix.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense, where
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to fix me from my addiction anymore, and you know, you don't need me to fix your any other issues that
Everything.
you have
Right.
going on. But like, I don't know, can you explain it better? I'm
It's really the communication, I think, because
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, I remember actually having this conversation with you a couple of months ago. Like, I just need you to listen to me.
mm,
I don't need you to fix. I just need you to listen, because we're just like every other couple.
Uh-huh.
One thing that we do, we've always told everybody, is we always put our marriage first.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I'm not putting him first, he's not putting me first. It's we're putting our marriage together first. And I
Mm-hmm.
value his opinion, and I like to think you value mine. So like, there are times that if I'm really struggling, I will go into him, and he sometimes every couple of months falls right back into that routine where she's complaining, she's worried, she's upset about something. I'm going to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally had to tell him, I don't need you to fix anything. I just need you to let me bitch and complain for 5 minutes. Let me get it out of my system, and I will be fine.
Yeah.
And so it's, we have to have that, you have to have that constant reminder
Mm-hmm.
with everyone, and you know, with yourself, with your partner, whoever. You have to have that constant reminder that this is what I need.
Mm-hmm.
This, how can we get there?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect because you explained it perfect because that's what I was trying to get at and I couldn't find the words. But yeah, that was perfect.
Oh, and I mean, thank you for bringing that up because I think it was a couple months ago. The wife and I had the same conversation. She was sitting there letting me know like what was bothering her and things that were just going all sorts of wrong or just not quite her way. And I was, getting upset. I was trying to do that let me fix kind of stuff, and
Mm.
like, I'm sorry I can't fix this, or I'm sorry that this is happening. And she was like, I just want you to hear me. I just want you
Mm-hmm.
to understand what is going on. You don't need to sit there and fix it. You don't need to sit there and change it. I just want you to hear me. And I was like, oh, like,
Mm-hmm.
is like, how did I not think of that sooner? Because sometimes that's all I want, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I just want to just go and say like, hey, this is like, let me, just like you said, let me bitch and complain for like 5 minutes, get it off my
Mm-hmm.
chest, and then you can sit there and be like, well, that sounded pretty dumb. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, why was I so mad at that in the first place?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's all we need. What do I always say? It's people. People have a tendency to listen to respond and not listen to understand.
mm-hmm.
And so that's something we've definitely had to work on and learn in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
active listening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually heard it in my recovery room a couple days ago that someone's sponsor asked them, are you listening? Are you waiting for your turn to talk, or are you actually listening to the person? And I was like, oh, that's a rough one too. Cause it's
Mm-hmm.
like, uh, whenever I was growing up, I had to sit there and have the right answer to things. Otherwise, it was just not quite right. So I had to wait for my turn to maybe talk sometimes because I was always like, let me formulate what I need to talk about. And then it like the important part would just go right over my head, and then
Mm-hmm.
it'd be like, oh well, yeah, it made myself look dumb. Uh, but I mean, Damien, how did you start to listen instead of trying to fix things?
That was tough because I always wanted to. I think it's a human instinct too that we want to. When someone talks to us, we automatically think that they're looking for advice,
Mm.
and so and that was true for me, especially because I was always, whether it be in my professional life, in my personal life, it was always working to troubleshoot something, working to find a way to get this to work.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very hard for me to not speak after someone was speaking. Um, they always say take the cotton out of your mouth or out of your ears and put them in your mouth
Mm-hmm.
in recovery. And I never understood that until I went back to these rooms after rehab. They drilled it in our heads in rehab that just sometimes just listen. If nobody's going to talk to you, if you try to fix every single thing that they throw at you, um, and it was hard to turn that off from going all day long to talking to people. I have to fix their issues, for work or whatever, and then come
Mm-hmm.
home and have others talk to me and be like, and then just sit there and just, I see what you're saying. Are you done? That kind of thing. Like then
Yeah.
I felt like they would look at me like, well, aren't you gonna say something? So but once I started actually speaking at at rehabs and in meetings and things like that, I finally understood that I also don't need a response. Because I
Mm-hmm.
used to always talk to, especially Alicia or anybody who would listen. I wanted advice, but I wanted advice that I wanted to hear from you. I didn't want your advice technically. I wanted you to tell me what I want to hear. I just needed to validate what I'm feeling from you. So, um, so yeah, once I getting back into speaking and in this recovery journey, been able to really understand that I also don't need a response.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone can listen to me and not respond, I take that as okay, maybe I can do that. And it took a little while to get used to it because it was so hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's definitely become so much easier to actually talk to people, to be honest,
Yeah.
because they, especially the ones that ask open-ended questions,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things. So, or I'm sorry, closed-ended questions. But yeah, it was not until I started speaking and getting into this world did I realize I don't need to respond and I don't need to give advice and vice versa. I don't need to get advice either.
Yeah. Oh man, I can only imagine how much more difficult that whole revelation is, especially after being a parent, because you're constantly having to kind of give advice and fix problems and stuff like that. But real quick, oh, we are at the around 45-minute mark. So real quick, where can people find you on the internet, and where can they find the book?
Sure. You can find us on our website, btsrecovery.net.
Okay.
You can find us on Facebook at Breaking the Silence, Instagram, Breaking the Silence, TikTok, BTS Recovery. And you can find the book on Amazon and Barnes. The
Okay.
books I have is Breaking the Silence, my journey from addiction to recovery, and Recovering Out Loud, which is my newest book, Letting the Light In, Tools, Truths, and Turning Points.
Awesome.
And that's on Amazon as well.
Sweet. And for those watching, that link right there is the short version of the newest book. So it took a little bit to find the short link. It was otherwise too long. um, but Alicia, I gotta ask. So Damien has like uh, Alcoholics Anonymous, right, as a recovery group. Do you attend any recovery groups for codependency or anything like that? Because there's Coda.
No.
No?
Yeah, no, I actually don't. I'm very stubborn. Um, I probably should work on that as well, hold myself accountable. But no, I actually don't. I have learned, I think, more watching him and him teaching me. So like
Mm-hmm.
when we did the family weekend at rehab, I learned a lot about, you know, what addiction does to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
to your brain, to your chemicals and all that stuff. So I think I've learned more from him and honestly from other addicts than I would from people that are in my shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I follow a lot of them on social media and stuff, but a lot of that is like it's not triggering, but it's like, you know, I'm literally going through the exact same thing that you guys are going through, but I'm trying not to dwell on these things, so I need to work with him
Mm-hmm.
with every step, because if I constantly keep talking about it the way that some of them were doing, you know, from 10 years ago, it would start, you know, I'd probably want to throat punch him. So, yeah. So I truly don't. But I think that's the easiest way, is just for me to go through it with him.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wholeheartedly support, you know, all of that. If you would, you know, need to go to any of those types of support groups or anything, absolutely. You know,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody, we all don't recover the exact same way. And as
Nope.
much as he's recovering from the addiction, I'm recovering from his addiction. You
Uh-huh.
know, everybody does it differently.
Yep. Thank you for highlighting that because everyone's recovery journey is different. And
Hmm.
I've had to start kind of letting some people know, like, not like our addiction journey is very similar as well. Our recovery journey can be really similar, but each one of those journeys is highly up to the individual, you know,
Hmm.
because just because Damien and I have shared alcohol addiction does not mean that our alcohol addiction looked the exact same and for the exact same
Exactly.
reasons that it happened. And just like that, our recovery journey is going to look a little bit different too, even if
Hmm.
it on the surface looks really similar. But I do want to ask real quick, have either of y'all heard of the 12 steps but backwards?
No.
No?
I have
Okay.
not. No.
So, Damien, you're familiar with the 12 steps at least, right?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
Okay. So, I'm going to share this real quick. Let me, because I've shared this in my recovery group, and it's just always kind of funny because people are like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. So, oh no, it's so small. How do I fix that? Here we, nope, that didn't work either. How do I, no, Riverside, where, huh? Oh, hang on, maybe I do it this way. In big, there we go. 12
Okay.
steps backwards. Can y'all see that all right?
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I was just really hoping it was not backwards. Um, so the 12 steps backwards. 1, I felt alone and overwhelmed by life. 2, came to believe alcohol and or drugs could fix everything. 3, unwittingly turned my life over to alcohol and or drugs and flawed thinking. 4, avoided like the plague any moral inventory of my attitudes. 5, refused to admit to anyone and anything inherently wrong with my choices. 6, claimed entitlement as a victim with few shortcomings. 7, believed other people and or institutions should cater to my needs. 8, kept a mental list of resentments against anyone who didn't. 9, avoided, imagined, rebutting, and talked shit about jerks on that list. 10, continue to trust my flawed thinking and repeat my mistakes. 11, privately rehashed grudges, licked wounds, and fantasized triumphs. And 12, disheartened as a result of these steps, I increased my alcohol and or drug use and sought solace among people equally lost. So, I know for me, that
Yeah, I
was
like
pretty
that.
spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
Especially that kept a list of those who didn't recover the same way as I did, or something like that. I've read. I think it was number 6 or 7. Yeah.
yeah. Who those kept a list of those people that did not cater to my needs and
Yeah.
talk
Right.
shit about them. Yeah.
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 I don't know about y'all, but there were many times, and sometimes I'll still have that moment where it's like I'm in the shower or just like on a walk, and just like something pops in my head, and I start having that imaginary conversation and argument. And it's like, this is what I'd say to that person if they said this, and blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, whenever that conversation comes to light, it never happens the way that I thought it
No.
would. So,
Right.
No.
uh, so real quick, Damien, what is your favorite step that you've had to work on?
My favorite step is just I'm drawing a blank. It is because I'm taking a moral inventory of myself. Um,
Number 4.
I yeah, I tend to do that every single day, um, because I'm in a different place in my recovery now where I want to change who I am. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be a better person. So I am trying to, I continuously work on fixing my character defects, and make myself better than I was yesterday. And that's all
Mm-hmm.
we can do. And I don't rehash the past as much as I used to. I feel like at the point in my journey now, it's more about the road to recovery and the road on recovery, rather than like I've never forgotten about my past and I never will because I know what I'm capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And you should never forget where you came from to where you are right now. And I would never do that. I I've noticed myself talking more about what I'm doing in recovery now. When I go to
Mm-hmm.
these speaking engagements and I do these things at rehabs, I talk about that more than my story that got me to rehab, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Only because, like, I'll briefly go over that because it has to be talked about. But I
Mm-hmm.
like talking more about what's going on in recovery, and that's what I wrote this second book about. Was what I'm doing in recovery and how recovery is not a one size fits all. Um, so I love that piece about, and that's my favorite step to work, is because I work on my character defects every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to be better no matter what part of my life I'm trying to better. I just be better in all aspects than I was yesterday.
Mm. Nah, I love it. Yeah, step 4 is one of those really hard ones. I find it that a lot of people don't like it, but I think it's the ones that we don't like sometimes are the ones that we got to do.
Mm.
So we are getting near-ish the end of this episode. So I want to ask Alicia, do you have anything that you want to leave the audience with this evening in regards to what your story holds for other people out there?
Biggest thing that I can think of right now is to learn to love yourself
Mm,
when you see your loved one going through something. And like I've tried to put myself in other people's shoes sometimes. If this was one of my kids, would I have been in the same position? And then I can the love you have for your partner is totally different than the love you have for your kid. And when we see somebody that we love in active addiction, we tend to lose ourselves as much. So learn
mm-hmm,
to love yourself throughout all of it, and just that's it. Just learn to love yourself.
okay. Yeah.
It's not easy, but
No.
we have to do it.
Yeah, it is not easy, and that's one of those things that I'm still working on that
No.
actively. I think every day I
Yeah.
get a little bit better, and then some days I think I go backwards a little bit, but it's just part of the
Yeah.
journey.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same.
And what about you, Damien? What do you want to leave the audience with for this evening in regards to your journey?
Just letting anyone that is thinking about getting into, making that, taking that leap and bettering yourself, getting out of active addiction. And if you don't think you're ready, you're not alone in this, and we're all in this together.
Mm-hmm.
And you we don't want to be addicted. We don't want to live in active addiction. Um, but if you are, you're not alone. There are resources, and you know, you just got to take that step, and I hope that you will. Then you know, get out there and let's do this all together. You know,
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that because no one ever really is alone. I know that whenever I was in my journey of addiction, it was like I am the worst of the worst, and then I got
Mm.
to rehab, and it was like, oh no, I could have been so much worse. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I couldn't have convinced myself that it could have gotten worse than where I was already at.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, I mean, we've got your website up there for everyone, your books, and oh, I did want to ask, what do y'all have in store for the rest of this year? Y'all talked about going to a lot of different recovery events and stuff, and Damien doing some speaking. So, do y'all have anything on the calendar for any of that stuff at the moment?
No, not for the rest of this year, right?
No,
It's next year we're gonna.
well, we have a few podcasts that are coming up, and you are speaking at a recovery house.
I am. I'm gonna do it all by
Yes, all
myself.
by herself.
He
Yep.
tried to weasel his way in there, and I was like, "No, thank you, sir. This is my thing." I did forget, and I just set that up today too. I totally
Oh
forgot
wow.
that quick.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, and she's she's a board member of this. It's called Rage Against Addiction here locally in
Huh.
Maryland,
Okay.
and she's on the board for them. Basically, they are a nonprofit, and they have several recovery houses for women and who are that also have kids
Mm-hmm.
too,
Huh.
that are getting on that journey and
Mm-hmm.
sober living and trying to get back on their feet, all while staying sober and getting their life straight. And so she helps out doing stuff with them, and I thought that was pretty cool. The woman, we've done a couple of events with her, and she came to us and she asked her to be
She
on there.
came to me.
Or she came to you and
Thank
she
you.
asked you to be on the board, and I thought that was really awesome because you know now she's not just here supporting me, everything that I'm doing for recovery. She's also able to do it on her own, which is super awesome. And I'm grateful for them to give you that opportunity, and I think you deserve it just as much as anybody. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. So we have that coming up, and I'll be taking a travel up to Pennsylvania and then Delaware to speak at a couple rehabs up there. But yeah,
Huh.
that's her next one. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Alicia, I bet you're a little nervous on that one.
Well, I wasn't until just now because I instantly forgot about it. But yeah, no, I'm actually I'm very excited. Like I don't do public speaking very well.
Mm,
But it's, a handful of people that live there, and so I when I was first asked to be on the board, my first thing was why? And
mm,
she had to, yeah, she was like taken back, and I was like, you have to understand, like, this is his world. Like,
uh-huh.
I'm here to support him. I'm not used to people coming to me and saying, Alicia, I want you to do
Mm-hmm.
this. So yeah, that's probably why I just totally forgot about it. So I'm still
Huh.
not used to people wanting me and not him.
No. I mean, again, y'all are both walking a recovery journey. It just doesn't
Yeah.
look the same. And again, I think that there's a huge disservice to those that are partners or spouses or just loved ones in the circle of the person that went through addiction. And they
Mm-hmm.
get overshadowed a lot. So that's why I got to say thank you very much for being back on the show again, because it does highlight very important aspects that we need to talk about more. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Of course. We are at the end of this episode, so I just want to remind everyone out there, Thank you for listening to Guidance and Recovery on WDJY 99.1 FM. And as always, try to love yourself. Love others if you can, but you got to try to love yourself first. If you're having a mental health crisis, you can dial 988 or text 741-741. If you're in the LGBTQ plus community, you can dial the Trevor Project up in Canada and try to be your favorite version of yourself today. Don't be too harsh on yourself. And I don't really got anything else. So we'll see y'all next time. But until then, much love. Schlon.